We have strong borders. We have no men and women's sports. I mean, basic things. We're not going to take your child away and change the sex of your child. We're not going to do things like that. What they're doing to the country is so incredible. And they got away with it with all their woke crap, and now it's stopped. And we have a country that's based on common sense and strength.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we'll go soft on him today because I know he's still recovering from surgery to have his elbows removed. Remember that promise, Mr. Speaker? Dancing around with his elbows in the air. We haven't seen those elbows since the election.
Get your popcorn ready. We're going to take a look at the House of Commons. Today, it was fireworks. I'm going to provide you with commentary. This is what happens when you sell yourself as Superman during the election, and now Canadians realize that the cape has flown off and you're just a man standing there in a costume. Let's get into this report.
Yeah, Canadians have seen this movie in the past, thinking that something is imminent, something is close, and then it just doesn't quite come together. The feeling in the Oval Office today was very similar to that first meeting between Prime Minister Carney and President Trump. They clearly have a decent personal relationship. They joke with one another. It's respectful. But while that is important, it hasn't led to any sort of significant breakthrough that perhaps those in the Prime Minister's office had been hoping for. Think about what's changed from that first meeting until now. There are more tariffs, there are higher tariffs, and there are threats of new tariffs. And in addition to the relationship seeming to be in a better place, Canada's made significant concessions. Think about the investments in border security, in defense spending, Canada getting rid of the digital services tax, lowering counter tariffs. All of those things meant to be goodwill measures. And so far, it hasn't resulted in any good things for Canada just yet.
So as the talks continue then, what's your sense of what Canadians should be watching for?
Going into next year, if there isn't some sort of major breakthrough, it's going to make the renegotiation of CUSMA, the Canada-US-Mexico deal, even more difficult. Trump is expected to use tariffs as sort of a threat and a tool to try and extract more concessions out of his trading partners, Canada and Mexico. And so it will take this already brutal situation, possibly twist it and make it even more difficult.
Today started off with this.
Mr. Carney returns today with no deal, and he'll be in the House of Commons for question period. He will be square that circle.
So it is going to be a question period to watch because, as we covered leading into this meeting, there was big pressure from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre on Mark Carney to make good on his election promise of getting a deal with Donald Trump.
Let's get into the House of Commons. The pressure is on. Popcorn is ready. Let's go. Before I show you the House of Commons, and I hope you have your popcorn ready, CBC came out today. Oh boy, this is insane. They're getting paid $1.5 billion of our tax dollars to be the talking face for the Liberal government, and even they are coming out with this.
I don't think it does huge damage. I do think it lets a little more air out of the tires. There's just a gentle diminution in people's assessment of Mark Carney as having initially been this kind of Superman, and I think he's much less viewed that way now.
Oh, he's no Superman now. He's just a little bit less. As the National Post published this morning, trust of Carney is eroding from the elbows up supporters. It is vanishing after his performance in the White House. Last one, we're going to the House of Commons. Canada's deficit to surge to $100 billion, National Bank chief economist says. One of Canada's major lenders says Prime Minister Mark Carney will push Canada's deficit to more than double the current forecast as he pursues major projects. Carney's turning our finances into a bonfire. Let's go to the House of Commons. First, Mark Carney had a caucus meeting, and at the caucus meeting, he said, we have zero trade deal. We have nothing to show for our meeting with Donald Trump. We are highly embarrassed with this situation, so we need to convince Canadians that we got this amazing trade deal and we are the absolute best. How are we going to do that? We're going to clap like seals all together and stand up and cheer on this absolute failure as Prime Minister in the House of Commons, hoping that the elbows up Liberal supporters actually fall for it. Absolutely embarrassing.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Things aren't getting off to an auspicious start today. Okay, the Right Honourable Prime Minister from the top, please.
So bad. It's so embarrassing to be Canadian and have these clowns as our leadership.
Okay.
So embarrassing.
Well, we now know why the U.S. president wanted this prime minister in power so badly. A weak leader whose high taxes and anti-development laws are sending billions of dollars and thousands of jobs out of this country. 86,000 jobs lost. And yesterday, the prime minister promised the president that he would increase Canadian investment in the U.S. by $1 trillion if he gets the agreement that he expects to get. Mr. Speaker, in exchange for $1 trillion of job losses in Canada, will he at least get an end to the U.S. auto tariffs that are killing jobs for our workers in Ontario?
Let's take a look at an auto update. We got some breaking news. Lutnick has come out and said they will not be removing any of the tariffs on auto. They said US #1, Canada #2. There's no room for two auto manufacturing hubs. US is absorbing Canada. All of those jobs are gone. We're going to see bankruptcies for sure. Here's Dougie on the situation.
We have to make sure we leverage our strengths. But we can't sit back and let President Trump continuously increase tariffs and the Prime Minister's decreasing tariffs. That doesn't cut it. So we have to be prepared, and the auto sector needs to be prepared. Not only our good uniform members, but also the Prime Minister. My first question, what are you going to do to protect the auto sector here in Ontario? It's absolutely critical, because with every auto sector falls the part manufacturers and the steel and so on and so forth.
Mark Carney's support in Ontario is about to tank. Back to Mark Carney.
Mr. Speaker, we have the best deal in the world with the Americans. First point. Second point, the President of the United States and myself had a meeting of minds yesterday with respect to the future of the steel sector, the aluminum sector, the energy sector in cooperation, which is why our teams are negotiating the terms of those deals. And we are working, as the President himself said in the Oval Office, on the modalities of an auto agreement.
You know, the thing is, he promised that we'd have this amazing trade deal. He was the only one that can negotiate with Donald Trump. And now Canadians are realizing that it was all a fat lie. And the Liberals, that's all they do. They win elections by lying. And now we're finding out that it was all a mirage.
Mr. Speaker, he just confirmed he's selling out our auto workers. And let me tell him what it means when investment leaves this country, because he was forced a record amount out in his 7 months in power. The 700 workers at the GM plant who lost their jobs in Oshawa, they can tell him about investment that is left. They're sitting around the dinner table wondering how they're going to pay their bills while GM announces $4 billion of new investment south of the border. So while the Prime Minister promises yet another $1 trillion gift to President Trump, why doesn't he look them at those workers in the eye and explain to them why he betrayed them?
Mr. Speaker, What this government is doing for the auto sector is an unprecedented investment in the Canadian auto sector. We look the Canadian auto workers in the eye. We have $5 billion in the Strategic Response Fund. We have $10 billion for liquidity management. We have worker retraining. We are striking deals with countries around the world. We have the best deal already with the Americans, and it will be even better.
Oh man, Canada's going down big time. They're putting in $15 billion into a failing auto industry. It's not coming back from this. Who's gonna buy our cars? We sell 1 million cars to the United States every single year, representing $37 billion. All of that is going to be evaporating. We can't prop up a failing business forever. We're making trade deals around the world with who? With who? Because the US represents 76% of all our trade. Is he talking about Mexico? They represent 1% of our total exports. Or is it Europe? 5% of our total exports. Or is he talking about Eurasia, where we just sent them $1 billion loan and we haven't done any additional trade with them whatsoever? And that deal was actually secured by Justin Trudeau last year. This government is a complete failure.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we'll go soft on him today because I know he's still recovering from surgery to have his elbows removed. Remember that promise, Mr. Speaker? Dancing around with his elbows in the air. We haven't seen those elbows since the election, after which $54 billion of investment gone to the United States. 86,000 jobs gone. American tariffs on Canada doubled. And as to the best deal in the world, why is it then, if we have the best deal, that Canada has the fastest shrinking economy in the G7 and 86,000 people are without a job?
Yeah, good point.
Okay. All right. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, he's rattled.
There are three things that are true. First is, I realized long before the leader of the opposition, long before the last election, you remember the last election? Long before the last election, that our relationship with the United States would never again be what it was. Secondly, thing that is true is we have the best deal with the Americans. And the third thing that's true is we will get an even better deal because we
remember the last election where that Prime Minister promised to put elbows up. It was not a promise, it was the promise that he ran on. Now those elbows have come down, the American tariffs have doubled, we have by far the weakest economy in the G7, 86,000 people have lost their jobs, and the Prime Minister went pathetically to the White House to offer a $1 trillion gift, bowing before the President in weakness. $1 trillion, Mr. Speaker. Speaking of the last election, where in his platform did he promise to give $1 trillion of our investment dollars to the Americans?
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to inform the Leader of the Opposition that there is a thing called the private sector. The private sector makes decisions about investment. The private sector, with the best deal in the world, will invest in this country and we will build Canada strong.
The private sector is flooding out of this country. $54 billion has flooded since this man has become prime minister. We lost $680 billion in oil and gas investment in the last decade. The private sector is getting crushed and crumbled, and that's why he has to come up with this $5 billion for the auto industry, plus another $10 billion in loans. They're propping up all of the private sector with our tax dollars. What is he talking about? This is a straight up clown show from the Liberal Party. Let's watch Yves Blanchet. He wanted to have a piece of Mark Carney promising the world during the election, and now we know it was all fake.
But that's not what we heard about during the campaign. It was supposed to be better than that. The truth is the Prime Minister came back empty-handed with nothing at all. Zero. Zilch. Yet there are new tariffs on trucks and increased tariffs on softwood lumber. The great negotiator is again coming back into the country, the tail between his legs. When will he stun us? When will he impress us?
Yeah, you're going to have to wait a very long time to be stunned or impressed. I don't know where Anita Anand is getting her stats from, but they're not from Canadian Statistics Canada. They're all imaginary.
Speaker, businesses from all over the world are choosing Canada. That is why, once again, we are ranked as one of the best countries in the G20 for doing business. We are deepening our partnerships in Europe, in the Indo-Pacific, and in Africa to create opportunities here at home. And that's why we've just signed a historic deal with Indonesia to create jobs, to diversify supply chains. Mr. Speaker, these are more than just agreements. They are the resilience of Canada's economic future, Mr. Speaker. We will build Canada strong.
If we're going to wait for the Liberals to save us, we are all in trouble. This is one of my favorite segments of today's House of Commons session, Andrew Scheer. Oh boy, Andrew Scheer.
Well, it's a good thing you don't need elbows to come home empty-handed. Yesterday, we found out why Donald Trump wanted this guy to be prime minister so badly. It's because Trump knew he would get everything he wanted with this prime minister. In addition to keeping all the Trudeau-era policies that are already chasing away jobs and investments, this prime minister decided to offer $1 trillion gift of Canadian investment dollars flowing to the U.S. That means mines built in the U.S., factories built in the U.S., sawmills built in the U.S., all with Canadian investment dollars. So simple question, in exchange for this generous sacrifice, did the Prime Minister get an end to all U.S. tariffs once and for all?
Minister of Finance.
We will take no lesson from the Conservatives. No lessons from the Conservatives. On this side of the aisle and all Canadians, we believe in this country, Mr. Speaker. Canada is the place where we attract talent. Canada is the place where we build ships, we build cars, we build planes. Canada is the place where we have critical minerals. Canada is the place where we have energy. Canada is the only country in the G7 with a free trade with all other G7 nations, Mr. Speaker. We're going to build Canada strong. We are the true north, strong and free, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, squeaky, squeaky. Too bad we buy all our ships from China. Yeah, he says we build ships. And he says that we do everything. We have critical minerals and energy, which is all getting tied up and staying in the ground with all the 9 bad bills that the Liberals have, anti-energy policies. Oh yeah, the Liberals are doing a great job.
Believe in Canada? This Liberal Prime Minister won't even pay taxes in Canada, Mr. Speaker. Once those investment dollars go to the U.S., they don't come back. Just look at TC Energy. That used to be called TransCanada Energy until they had to drop the word Canada because they can't get anything built in this country. They just put $8.5 billion to work in the U.S. The Prime Minister said during the election, anyone who worships at the altar of Donald Trump will kneel before him, not stand up to him. Yesterday, he knelt there like a pylon while the President skated all around him. Did he get an end to U.S. tariffs in return?
More good news for the Conservatives, Mr. Speaker. On November 4th, we will be presenting a budget with generational investment, Mr. Speaker, that is going to make Canada the strongest economy in the G7. We will invest in our people. We're going to build this country. We're going to empower Canadians, Mr. Speaker. We're going to build Canada strong, and we're going to do it with all Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
We're going to take a look at the Parliamentary Budget Officer. They provided an update on the budget. The Parliamentary Budget Officer came out with this initial assessment yesterday regarding the government's budget because they're going to be taking out expenses and making them investments. What they said is we're nearing $3 trillion in debt, with interest payments eating up billions per week. And Ottawa is doing nothing on the debt control. There's no new austerity measures, no GDP-linked targets. It's all fake. If the rates continue to stay high and growth continues to stall, we're looking at a Greece-style crunch. Your taxes, pension, and kids' future will be on the hook. Last clip from the House of Commons. Prepare yourself.
For decades, Mr. Speaker, Canadians have watched as Conservatives have fought against their interests. Not just voted against their interests, Mr. Speaker, but actively worked to fight against their families' prosperity. Whether it's beating back unionization, whether it's voting against school nutrition programs, whether it's fighting against Canada Child Benefit, Mr. Speaker, Canadians know who has their back, and it sure isn't the Conservative Party.
Oh, really? Let's take a look at that. First, the Liberals caused the worst inflation in my lifetime, but the worst inflation in 40 years, which ate up your disposable income, making you poor. It doesn't matter what programs they offer you, you can't even afford a fat piece of steak. Now let's take a look at government debt. In 2015, we are at $628 billion. Today, we are at $1.22 trillion. So they've doubled our national deficit. Do we have the most beautiful hospitals in the world? Are our airports brand new? How's your road? Are there any potholes? Are your services better than you ever received in your entire life? What do we have to show for doubling our national deficit, except for record homelessness? 4 million people visiting the food bank regularly, and our economy and jobs market is crumbling right now. We have nothing to show for it. And the average Canadian family spent 42.3% of their income on taxes, more than housing, food, and clothing combined. Look, they're only spending 2% on clothing, and the reason is people can't even afford food. And look at housing. Taxes is #1 in Canada. What are we getting for our taxes? Check out this video. Hopefully this is not coming in Canada because this is counterproductive. Look, we got cardboard boxes for laundry detergent, but check out what's inside the box. You can't make any of this stuff up. The amount of insanity we see on a daily basis, it makes 0 sense. We got some breaking news. Andrew Scheer is taking questions from CBC talking about Keystone X pipeline.
It shouldn't really be part of a negotiation. Donald Trump has already signaled he supports Keystone. He signed an order approving it back in 2017 in his first term. If Mark Carney is offering something up to Donald Trump in exchange for Keystone, then Mark Carney is the worst negotiator in the world because Donald Trump has already signaled that he wants it. You don't have to give something up in order to get something from someone who's already signaled they're going to do it.
So you want this pipeline built, but you're saying that the government shouldn't be offering anything in exchange to make sure that it does get revived, despite multiple cancellation and pauses. So is that exactly the case? And also, what if the government said, hey, we'll pay for it? Do you think that that's something that Canada, or that this pipeline gets built? Like, how high on your priority is getting the pipeline built?
So you're asking about if Canadian tax dollars should go to build a pipeline in the United States? I mean, I'll just point out that before Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney and the Liberals came to power, investors built pipelines. It's only been since the Liberals have been in power that taxpayers have had to subsidize pipeline projects. We used to have a country where investors were fighting to get their dollars into Canada, to build pipelines in Canada so we can sell our energy, so that workers can have jobs and provincial governments can benefit from those royalties. Under this Liberal government, those investment dollars are now going to the United States. TransCanada Energy announced $8.5 billion worth of new energy projects in the U.S. It's taking Canadian investment dollars to go to work in the American economy. It's jobs lost here in Canada to the benefit of the U.S. economy, and that's a terrible indictment on Liberal energy policies.
How long is it going to take for the elbows up and Liberal supporters to realize that their party is taking us directly down into the bottom of the Marianas Trench? Hopefully they realize quick because we have very little time left. We got some breaking news from Mr. Sunshine. He says that Trump is about to label Antifa as a foreign organization, which means that every country that wants to remain in good standing terms with the United States is required to get rid of Antifa. Pleb Reporter says this is huge news because As we know, Antifa is strong, and I believe they're being funded by our Liberal Party. I saved the best for last. Please, somebody tell me this is AI, but unfortunately, it's not. Mark Carney just gave a very bizarre interaction with reporters as he talks about how excited reporters were to be in the Oval Office compared to when they see Carney back in Canada.
How was the meeting, sir? Oh, you guys were so excited there. I've never seen a group of Canadian journalists' faces light up. You're in the Oval Office. You're going to ask the president a big question.
Let me see you.
You're just like you were not. You're never. You look when you look at me. You're just like. The president's there. It's all great.
What about the pipeline?
It was good discussion. How about this
pipeline?
I don't know what we just witnessed. Like I said, was that AI? What are we looking at? This is very bizarre. That's it for today's report. Wow, the House of Commons was fireworks. I mean, I don't even know what to say. We're only on Wednesday. Imagine what it's going to look like tomorrow and the rest of the week. Things are just heating up in Canada. What do you think about what's happening with Donald Trump and Mark Carney and now in the House of Commons? I have a feeling that this government's not going to last through Christmas. I'll see you on the next report.